A perfect, aggressively manicured lawn was the last place 6-year-old Leo should have called home. But there he was, sleeping curled up on a thin, faded blanket under a crepe myrtle near the Pinecrest community's entrance. The Pinecrest Homeowners Association, led by the iron fist of President Brenda Sterling, decided his presence was a clear violation of Article 4, Section B, no unauthorized, non-aesthetic occupancy. What kind of monster evicts a literal child from a patch of decorative grass? The main conflict wasn't about safety or rules. It was about Brenda's profound, entitled discomfort at seeing poverty taint her $800,000 neighborhood. Brenda, a woman whose face seemed permanently set in the expression of having just smelled spoiled milk, found Leo during her morning constitutional. She was wearing perfectly matched athleisure where that cost more than Leo's entire wardrobe, and her voice, sharp and high-pitched, cut through the early morning calm like shattered glass. "Young man, this is private property. Are you not aware of the rules?" Leo, his eyes wide and clouded with fear and sleep, just scrambled to pull the blanket around his shoulders. He smelled faintly of ozone and damp earth, a scent completely foreign to the sterile, chlorine-drenched air that usually hung around the nearby pool. Didn't she see the hopelessness clinging to him? Brenda didn't. She saw a drop in property value, a stain on her perfect subdivision. Within the hour, a crisp, legally threatening eviction notice was taped to the trunk of the crepe myrtle tree. That plastic-coated notice was the first sign of trouble, but it was also the catalyst for their downfall. Alex Chun, a struggling paralegal who lived in one of the community's smaller, less prestigious condos, saw the notice when he grabbed his mail. He felt a sudden, hot flash of shame and fury, the kind that makes your ears ring. He knew this fight had Brenda's signature all over it. Alex's own condo fees went toward maintaining the ridiculously oversized, always empty, Greek-columned community clubhouse, a monument to the community's vanity. He walked over to Leo, who had thankfully found a little shelter behind the massive garbage receptacle bay, and offered him a bottle of water and a granola bar. "What's your name, kid?" Alex asked gently, crouching down until the cheap, synthetic fabric of his work slacks stretched uncomfortably. "Leo," the boy whispered, his gaze fixed on the ground. "My name's Alex. You got family nearby, Leo? Anyone I can call?" Leo shook his head, a single, devastating movement. Where was his family? Why was he alone? Alex learned that Leo's mother had passed away suddenly 3 weeks prior, and the relatives who were supposed to take him had mysteriously vanished. The boy had nowhere to go, surviving on the scant leftovers he found near the clubhouse's recycling bins. The next homeowners association meeting was a battlefield. Brenda, standing behind a mahogany podium in the clubhouse ballroom, radiated triumph. "The unauthorized occupant has been issued a final warning," she announced, her voice booming thanks to the microphone, "and local authorities are prepared to remove him by Friday." A murmur went through the crowd, some nodding approval, some shifting uncomfortably. Alex stood up, clutching a massive, dusty binder. "Before we vote, Brenda," Alex began, his voice shaking slightly, "I need to introduce Exhibit A, the original Pinecrest Community Charter, signed 1978. Brenda scoffed, a truly magnificent, dismissive sound that conveyed volumes of upper-class contempt. "Oh, please, Mr. Chun, are you trying to appeal to my sense of history? Was that really all she cared about, her petty power trip?" Alex ignored the dig, flipping pages until he found the section he needed. Thwack! He slammed the binder shut, the noise echoing sharply in the cavernous, air-conditioned room. This was the moment of the secondary twist, the Gaysian part that blindsided everyone. Article 9, Section D, the Permanent Resident Covenant, Alex read, his voice gaining strength, stipulates that the primary clubhouse structure, financed via a joint venture bond, grants permanent, non-expiring custodial rights to the descendants of the original 10 bondholders, provided they have nowhere else to reside, and until they reach the age of majority. Brenda went pale. "What nonsense is this? That's ancient history," she shrieked. Alex pointed directly at the document. Leo's mother, Maria Torres, was the daughter of the original bondholder for the Clubhouse's foundation, a man named Mr. Hector Chavez. Her rights, and by extension, Leo's custodial rights to the property as a dependent minor, are enshrined here. You can't evict him, Brenda. You might have to house him. The courtroom showdown the following Tuesday was pure cinema. Brenda, impeccably dressed, had hired the community's priciest corporate lawyer, Frank, a man whose tailored suit looked incapable of losing. Alex represented Leo, relying on his paralegal research and raw moral indignation. The smell of old leather and stale paper in the courtroom only heightened the tension. The judge, an older woman with a severe yet kind expression, listened patiently as Frank argued about bylaws, aesthetics, and the sanctity of property law. Brenda, sitting beside him, looked smug, occasionally sighing dramatically, a loud, artificial sound of persecution that made Alex clench his jaw. Finally, it was Alex's turn. He didn't talk about law. He talked about humanity, about the spirit of the covenant written in a time when communities looked out for each other, not just their stock portfolios. He ended by simply stating, Leo is 6. He is not a petunia that needs to be plucked because it's growing in the wrong bed. He has a right, Judge, a moral and legal right to shelter. The judge leaned back, adjusting her glasses. The pause that followed felt like an hour. The absolute silence was the most deafening sound of all. Then, she delivered the judgment, her voice slow, deliberate, and devastating. She affirmed the validity of the 1978 covenant. She stated that as the Homeowners Association operated and maintained the clubhouse, they were legally responsible for honoring the custodial agreement. Therefore, the judge concluded, staring directly at a visibly shaking Brenda, Leo Torres is granted immediate, temporary residency in the most appropriate available structure maintained by the Pinecrest Homeowners Association until he reaches the age of 18 or suitable relatives are found. And since the clubhouse is a fully functional, climate-controlled, non-occupied building, the Pinecrest Clubhouse will be his home. The gavel struck. Bam. The sound was final, justice delivered. Brenda shot out of her seat, gasping, Your Honor, but the aesthetics, the weddings, the Pilates classes. The judge merely offered a bitter, knowing smile. It seems, Ms. Sterling, that for the first time, your community facility will actually be serving a true community need. Case closed. The immediate aftermath was beautiful and brutal. Brenda Sterling was served a hefty court order, outlining all the amenities Leo was entitled to. Her desperate appeal to the community board failed. The legal risk was too high. The very next day, Leo moved into the massive, empty, air-conditioned clubhouse ballroom. The irony was a delicious, bitter twist for Brenda. The child she tried to throw out was now living in more opulence than most of the condo owners. The Homeowners Association had to hire staff to manage his care, buy him clothes, and ensure his education was maintained, all funded by the escalating Homeowners Association fees. Brenda's smug entitlement had not only failed but had brought about a true, financially painful reckoning. She was eventually forced to resign, her reputation in tatters, realizing that property rights, when enforced with utter lack of compassion, sometimes lead to the most spectacular, satisfying professional karma. The clubhouse, once a symbol of sterile wealth, now stood as a beacon of justice, reminding everyone that humanity should always be the highest law, far above any petty bylaw. Wasn't that the most poetic, incredible defeat of a Karen ever?